and welcome to today's video. Today's is our reading video as usual, but change positions and there will be a lot of interruptions. I mean, sounds from outside, but that has always been there because I'm just going to continue our reading for today. We stopped at chapter 9 where Ian went to see other family members, told them different things, told them that if anybody tried to kill Malcolm, they would be cut out of the will. So it seems as if everybody's cooperating somewhat, but not really. Like Alicia's children hate his guts, and he's not happy about that. He says like he's depressed, because he doesn't know what he has done for them to regard him with such distaste. But anyway, let's continue with chapter 10 this week. Chapter 10. Oh, also last chapter Ian won first place in amateur jockeying, I guess, so that's a good thing. Chapter 10. I flew to New York 2 days later, still not knowing where to find Malcolm. The voice at Stamford, Connecticut, always helpful but uninformed, had told me the previous evening that the gentleman might have gone back to Lexington, Kentucky. I was heading for a hotel in Manhattan that the voice had recommended. She would tell Mr. Pembroke I would be there as soon as she knew where Mr. Pembroke was. Superintendent Yale didn't know I had left England, nor did any of the family. That morning I had taken the hired car to Heathrow and turned it in. Then sighed with relief on the airplane and thought about the visit I had made the day before to Alicia and Vivian. Neither had wanted to see me and both had been abrasive. Alicia had reluctantly let me in. She was looking youthfully pretty in white wool, and her neat figure spoke of luck or dieting. You might have said you were coming, she complained. Ferdinand said you'd come. I told him to tell you not to. It seemed best to see everyone, I said neutrally. Then hurry up, she said. I'm going out to lunch. Did Ferdinand tell you about Malcolm's new will? He did, and I don't believe a word of it. Nothing's changed. Malcolm does what he likes. He's utterly selfish. I asked her if she remembered the tree stump. Of course, I was furious with Malcolm for letting Fred do anything so ridiculous. The boys might have been hurt. And did she remember the switches? How could she forget them, she said. These clocks had been all over the house. You were good to me in those old days, I said. She stared. There was almost a softening around her eyes, but it was transitory. I had to be, she said acidly. Malcolm insisted. I asked her if she had engaged Norman West to find Malcolm. She said sharply, no, I didn't. Why would I want to? Everyone wanted to stop him spending his money. He's insane, paranoid. He should hand control over to Gervais. She turned away restlessly. It's high time he went. I thought so too. If my visit to Alicia had been unfruitful, my call on Vivian was even more so. She wouldn't answer any questions or discuss any possibilities. She said several times that Malcolm was a fiend who was determined to destroy his children. She hoped we both rot in hell. She did not employ that terrible man Norman West to find Malcolm. And if I didn't remove myself from her doorstep, she would call in the police. I spent 4 nights in New York before I found Malcolm, or before he found me to be precise. Malcolm and Ramsey had simply been moving from horse farm to horse farm through deepest Kentucky, and it was from there he finally phoned at 8:10 in the morning. What are you doing in New York? He demanded. I thought we were meeting in California. Well, we are, I said. When? What's today? Friday. We're just going out to see some horses breeze. Ramsey and I are going to spend a few more days here. You go to California tomorrow and I'll join you stay on Wednesday. Couldn't you please make it sooner? I do need to talk to you. Did you find something out? His voice suddenly changed gear. as if he had remembered the world of terrors he left behind. A few things, but I can't tell you on the telephone. Go and see the horses and meet me in Los Angeles tomorrow. He was quiet for a few moments, then said, I owe it to you. I'll be there, and disconnected. I spent the day as I spent all the others in New York, wandering around, filling eyes and ears with the city and thinking painful, private thoughts that came to dreadful conclusions. Malcolm kept his word, and to my relief came without Ramsey, who would be over on Wednesday. We would all have 3 days at the races and go to Australia on Saturday night. Malcolm was crackling with energy. He and Ramsey had bought 4 more horses, he informed me, and were joining a syndicate to own some others down under. A forest fire out of control, I thought, and had sympathy for my brothers and sisters. The Beverly Wilshire Hotel gave us a suite with brilliant red flocked wallpaper in the sitting room and vivid pink and orange flowers on a turquoise background in the bedrooms. Rooms to laugh in, I thought. Our windows looked down on a pool with a fountain and gardens and orange trees. We dined downstairs. Tell me about the horses, I said, and heard about them through the smoked salmon, the salad, the veal, and the coffee. I listened, amused and impressed. Malcolm knew the breeding of his purchases back 3 generations, and phrases like won a stakes race came off his tongue as if he had known them all his life. Do you mind if I ask you something? I said eventually. Just how rich are you? He laughed. I can't tell you to the nearest million. It changes every day. I spent a year's invested income on the horses, that's all. There'll be plenty for everyone when I pop off. More than there is now. I just have to live longer, you tell them that. I told them you'd said in your will that if you were murdered, it would all go to charity. Why didn't I think of that? Did you think any more of letting the family have some of the lucre before you pop off? You know my views on that. Yes, I do. And the trust funds were generous when they were set up. But your children aren't perfect, and some of them have got into messes. He sat back in his chair and stared moodily at his coffee. Have they sent you here to plead for them? No. I'll tell you what's been happening, then you can do what you like. Fair enough, he said, but not tonight. He didn't want to hear about a squabbling family with its latent murderer. He felt safe in California, although I was interested to discover he had signed us into the hotel as Watson and Watson. The Watsons, father and son, breakfasted the following morning out in the warm air by the pool, talking of horrors. I asked Malcolm casually if he remembered Fred and the tree roots. Of course I do, he said at once. Bloody fool could have killed himself, he frowned. What's that got to do with the bomb at Quantum? I told Malcolm about the cordite still lying in the tool shed, and Fred said he had some detonators, but he took them away. The superintendent wondered if you remember what happened to the detonators after you taking them. He stared. It's 20 years ago must be, he protested. Did you turn them over to the police? No. Do you remember what they look like? Well, yes, I suppose so, he frowned. There was a row of them in a tin, laid carefully out in cotton wool. Imagine yourself going into the house with this tin of detonators, I said. You'd put it where you would think of looking for it first. Where would that be? A faraway, unfocused look appeared in his eyes, then he suddenly sat bolt upright. I saw the tin not so very long ago when I was looking for something else. It's a sort of candy tin, not very big, with a picture on top. Where was it and how long ago? It's in the office. You know I never tidied that place up. It's on top of some books in the breakfast bookcase. Bottom row, more or less out of sight. on top of the Dickens. His face suddenly split into a huge grin. I remember now, I put it there because the picture on the teen's lead was the old curiosity shop. Superintendent Yale was going to love it. The detonators are safe there, Malcolm went on reasonably, behind glass. No one can pick them up accidentally. I thought it highly likely that's where they weren't, but didn't bother to say so. Have you seen the teen there since Moira died? I asked. He wrinkled his forehead. No, probably not. Then before that, I was away from the house for a week when I couldn't stand being in the same place with her. Although it was over 2 months ago that I last saw it, I should say. I reflected a bit and drank my coffee and began to feel lazy. It was pleasant in the sunshine. A few people were sunbathing. A child was swimming, all a long way away from the ruins of Quantum. From that quiet Sunday morning and on until Wednesday, Malcolm and I led the same remote existence, taking long drives out to Santa Anita racetracks in the afternoons, dining in the restaurants afterward. Gradually, I told him what was happening in the family. Never pressing, never heated, never too much at one time. He only commented moderately. Upstairs in the club at the racetrack, Malcolm was welcomed as a kindred spirit. As always, Ramsey Osborne had given him fistfuls of instructions and introductions. I envied Malcolm his ease. While he talked easily to strangers about the mixing of European and American bloodlines in thoroughbreds, I thought of the phone call I had made at dawn on Monday morning to Superintendent Yale. He had come on the line with unstifled annoyance. It's a week since he telephoned. Where are you? Around, I said. I found my father. Oh, good. I told him where Malcolm had stored the detonators. There was a shattered silence. I don't believe it, he said. And anyone who borrowed a book from that bookcase could have seen them? Yes, I suppose so, if they've been there for 20 years. It is incredible that when someone thought of making a bomb, the detonators were handy. Eo complained. Other way round, wouldn't you think? I said. The availability of the detonators suggested the bomb. The pool of common knowledge in your family is infuriating, he said sourly. Irritating, I agreed. That's the wrong word. Where is your father? Safe. I don't expect to see us for a week or two. I said goodbye to him rather firmly and concluded that the police had no more information than I had. Another day, another car journey with Malcolm. He asked me, what did Serena say when you saw her? She said you could stuff your money, or words to that effect. Malcolm laughed. She also said, I went on, that Alicia told her you'd only try to get custody of her that time so as to be cruel to Alicia. Alicia's a real bitch, he said with irritation. Farther down the road, we talked about the time switch clocks, which were an unwelcome piece of news to him also. Thomas was at best making them, wasn't he? Malcolm said. They were his idea originally, I think. Serena brought one over for Robin and Peter that Thomas had made for her years ago. I nodded. A Mickey Mouse clock. She made them a lighthouse of Lego pieces to go with it. He sighed. I miss Gucci still, you know. The crash happened not long after that. He shook his head to rid it of the sadness. On Wednesday, the Beverly wheelchair came alive with the racing crowd, and Ramsey blew in with gusto and plans. We would go to parties, to the husbands, to a Hollywood gala ball. Malcolm adored it all, so did I. Life in high gear. Early on Friday, we went out to the racecourse to watch Blue Clancy breeze around the track in his last warm-up before the big one. He looked fine, walked well, threw Malcolm and Ramsey into back-slapping ecstasies. Wait until tomorrow, the trainer said cautiously. We're taking on the best in the world. The hot money is for a California bred horse. What hot money? Malcolm demanded. The bets made by people with inside information. Who cared? Malcolm said. He couldn't remember ever having more fun in his life. At the ball that night, he was infectious. Everyone around him lit up like a nightlight, banishing gloom. We slept, we ate breakfast Saturday morning, we went to the races. The smoke that all week had covered the mountains relented and disclosed a sunlit rocky backdrop worthy of the occasion. There were 7 Breeders' Cup races, various distances horses of various ages. The first 5 each offered a total purse of $1 million. Blue Clancy's race, the 1.5 mile turf, had a total purse of $2 million. The winner's owner would be richer by $629,000. We cheered home the first 5 winners, then went down to the saddling stalls and saw Blue Clancy prepared. We went back up to the stands and beat our nails. This was one of the 2 races being run on grass, the green stuff of home. On paper, Blue Clancy looked to have an outside chance of coming in first. Blue Clancy broke cleanly away from the gate and his jockey held him handily in 6th place, all down the far side. Ramsey and Malcolm were looking through binoculars and muttering encouragement. Blue Clancy swung into the long bottom bend and was still lying 6th when the field turned for home. There was no clear leader. 3 horses raced together in front, followed by a pair together, then Blue Clancy alone. Too much to do, I thought, and the agile colt immediately proved me wrong. His jockey swung him wide of the others to allow him a clear run. Blue Clancy accelerated. Malcolm was shouting. Ramsey was speechless. Blue Clancy in 3rd place, all the crowds roaring. Blue Clancy still faster, 2nd now. Malcolm silent, mouth open, eyes staring. The incredible was happening, breathtaking, awesome, and Blue Clancy had definitely, indubitably won. Malcolm's eyes were like sapphires lit from inside. He couldn't speak. Ramsey grabbed him by the arm and pulled him, and the 2 of them ran, almost dancing, to greet their champion's return. I followed close on their heels, marveling. Some owners were always lucky. Malcolm's luck was stupendous. It always had been. In everything except wives. King Midas had touched him, and Blue Clancy was his latest gold. I wondered ironically what the family would say. The fortune he had flung away on horses had already come back. Everyone would see the point of not murdering the golden goose. We could return home to welcome and safety. Only it wasn't like that. We would return home to an unaccessible danger, and it was essential to be aware of it and to plan. Sobered as always by what lay ahead, I nevertheless went to a post-race party in fine spirits, and after that we went to Los Angeles airport to fly through the night to Australia. The people came with us. Melbourne took up the impetus. Let's know what impetus means, shall we? But out at Flemington Racecourse, Malcolm found the racing less compulsive than in California through not owning a runner. I left him and Ramsey in the committee rooms and wandered down to the crowd and wondered how many in the throng struggled with intractable problems. When the party was over, Malcolm would want to move on, and I wasn't ready. Under the shade trees, I was searching for the solution that would cause us least grief. There was no truly easy way out, no overlooking or dodging what had been done to Moira. But if someone could plead diminished responsibility owing to stress, there might be a quiet trial and a lifetime for us of visiting a sort of hospital instead of a prison. Either way, there were tears in our future. We spent Melbourne Cup night in a farewell dinner, and in the morning, alone at a quiet breakfast in our hotel room, Malcolm looked at me as if coming down to earth. With a touch of despondency, he asked how long he was to be exiled for safety's sake. But you've enjoyed it, I said. Oh, yes. The remembrance flashed in his eyes. But it's not real life. We have to go back. I know you've been thinking about it all this time. I could see it in your face. I sighed. I've come to know them all so much better, I said. My brothers and my sisters. I'd forgotten to a great extent what we had been like as children. Since the bomb went off at Quantum, a great deal of the past has come back. And I've seen how the present has grown out of that past. How obsessions don't go away, they get worse. After a moment, Malcolm said, how much do they need then? I don't believe in it, but I see it necessary. The obsessions have got worse as I've grown richer. I've had a good holiday and I'm feeling generous, so draw up a list of who's to get what. All equal, I said, and as you are thinking of distribution, I'll give it to your children's spouses as well. Separately, I mean, so they had an independence. What about you then? I don't know, we'll decide about that later. I thought you wanted 500,000 to set up as a trainer. I've changed my mind, for now anyway. There's something else I want to do first. What's that? I hesitated. I'd barely admitted it to myself. Had certainly told no one else. Be a jockey, turn professional. Good Lord, he said, astonished. Haven't you left it too late? Maybe. I'll have 3 or 4 years. Better than not trying. You amaze me, he reflected. Come to think of it, you've constantly amazed me since you came to New Market Sales. It seems I hardly knew you before. That's how I feel about you, I said. That's the end of chapter 10. This chapter, there was not a lot of new words or difficult words, actually. So, no vocabulary taken for this week, which I'm very grateful for. I wasn't even in the mood to do so. I want to talk about the chapter a little bit. Like, this chapter ended on a very sentimental note. Like, Ian and Malcolm, they are making up, finally. They are seeing each other in a very loving light. Especially Malcolm, since he's seeing how his son, loves him unconditionally, like to an extent, yeah. And then there's the family members they have to deal with. At some point when I was reading where Blue Clancy was winning, my voice got high pitch, like higher, and my breath was going faster, and my heart was like going up because I don't know. In that moment, I felt excitement, I guess. So, like, the writing is okay, but the whole horse racing thing is not interesting to me. And first mention of the title of the book, Hot Money. What did you define hot money as? Let's check it. The bets made by people with inside information. So why is that the title of the book? I feel like it's kind of like the way somebody wants to kill Malcolm, yeah? The person already has inside information of Malcolm's true worth. So I feel like if it's his family, how are they going to access the money? I feel like it's the gold he kept in that house. And I suspect Arthur Belbrook. I suspect that Arthur Belbrook wants to kill Malcolm to have access to that room. But let's just keep going. So, but anyway, hot money title mentioned in the book. That's a new word. I also underlined impetus, but I don't want to check any word today. Today is just very interesting. As you can see, I'm reading from my bed. I don't know how today reading went, but I feel like I'm just glad I was able to do it. The chapter was thankfully very short. Or maybe it was not short, maybe it was just me. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next reading video. Bye bye.